This is the final video for Chapter 2. It's over Section 2 of Chapter 2 and deals with environmental issues. One of the big things we've been talking about through all of the first sections and videos of Chapter 2 is the need for us to be visibly different in our makeup. If somebody were to come and take a picture of the employees who work here, somebody looking at that picture ought to see a difference. Diversity is a critical word today, diversity. And cultural diversity is the one that we think about the most. We need to have a blending of cultures. There's a number of reasons why we do that. One of the main of which is that it's just the right thing to do. But beyond the right thing to do, there's a lot of advantages to us as an organization if we are culturally diverse, if we have men and women. These days, if we have transgender, if we have, I don't even know what the terms are, non-binary, all those kinds of things. Why is it important to have those different perspectives? Because they all bring a different view to what we're doing. And the two heads are better than one. Certainly, to an extent, 100 heads are better than two, as long as they work well together and get us towards our goals. Look at it this way: you go to a Walmart, and you're looking for somebody to help you with paint. You're more likely to be satisfied with that interaction if somebody who understands you is helping you. That doesn't mean they have to look like you. I don't have a problem going into the hospital and being treated by a female nurse if that female nurse understands my problems and can relate to me in those areas where I'm a little self-conscious, whatever. I don't really care who it is, but I'm much more comfortable dealing with somebody who understands me than I am with somebody who completely does not understand me and does not try to understand me. So being diverse means that there's a better probability that any random person who walks through the door can find somebody who understands them and can relate to them. Cultural diversity is important because we're seeing more and more of a difference in American society in terms of minorities and culture, because of immigration, because of a number of different things, because of the intermingling of the classes, of the races. Where 20 years ago it was kind of unusual and maybe even frowned upon for two people from the same gender to adopt or to get together. It was kind of frowned upon for somebody who was white and somebody who was black to get together. That's so common today, and we have so many interracial marriages, so many intercultural marriages, that it's blending considerably, and that makes it much more important that our workforce represents that. And right now we may be limited as to what we can do because we can only have 100 people on staff. But you know what? A lot of those people on our staff are older white guys like me. And we're getting 10 years, 8 years, in my case, 30 more years, who knows, to graduation. But when I graduate, there's an empty hole. I may not want to get rid of Dr. Grimes right now, but when he's gone, you can bet your bottom dollar that I'm going to hire a young female Asian to replace him. So there are going to be opportunities, but cultural diversity plays into that critically because I'm really good at what I do here. I teach from stuff that I know and that I have experience in. I connect with students. I'm frankly one of the most popular teachers here if you look at course evaluations and things like that. 2 Professor of the Year awards. I'm very well liked. I'm very good at what I do. But who's going to replace me when the time comes? It's going to be hard. Sounds to me like I'm bragging a little bit, tooting my own horn a little bit, but it's going to be hard to replace me, to find somebody that brings into this role all of the things that I have. So the culture of diversity means that we have a better opportunity to have somebody who's a lot like Dr. Grimes when it comes time for Dr. Grimes to leave. And that's something we've got to be thinking about. How do we make sure that we are culturally diverse in our organizations? The first thing that we tend to do is have diversity training. It's obvious that you don't really see people different from you as being equal to you. So we need to teach you that diversity is a good thing, and diversity is something we ought to be trying to do. What kinds of things help with diversity training and being more diverse? Well, being aware of where we have biases. I've got this bias against people of color. I can't explain it. I don't know where it came from. I try not to let it influence me, but man, I just do. Somebody that's a person of color walks up, I immediately go, okay, I've got to dumb it down a little bit. Please don't think this is Dr. Grimes talking. I'm playing a role that you might see out in the real world somewhere. Be aware of your biases. If you just really have a problem, maybe one of my biases is people who aren't dressed quite as well, street people or whatever, people from certain parts of the community. I may have this bias. It's like I'm immediately going to step back just a little bit, self-protection mode or something. Be aware of the biases. Do the best that you're able. Don't see differences. Don't see somebody who walks through the door as having a different skin color. See it as somebody who is a living, breathing human being with a soul, who has potential. Look for skills. Don't be biased. Don't see the differences, but do look for the skills. I don't care what color your hair is. I don't care what kind of clothes you wear. Can you do the things I need you to do? All right, look for skills, and then help people work together. One of the biggest problems is I just don't feel comfortable working with them. Well, doggone it, you're going to have to. Let's find a way to make it easier for you. So cultural diversity is a big issue in the world today, especially in our organizations where we're looking at external environmental things that impact how we do our thing that we're supposed to be doing. And one of the categories that we've got to keep an eye on is females, because you've probably heard of the phrase the glass ceiling. When I think about that literally, a ceiling is, I can look up here. There's my ceiling. I've never done that in a video before. There's my ceiling. Now I've messed up my ability to get my pretty face on the camera. There's a ceiling that prevents me from going into the office of the person above me. There's a barrier, a physical barrier. That's what the ceiling is in a glass ceiling. Glass, to me, represents, let's turn the camera again. There's glass. I can turn to my right and look out the window and see the lake in the background there through the trees. Yesterday, right out there, right about where that camera is pointing, I was able to see a whole bunch of big geese. You can see a couple of birds flying around out there right now. I was able to see a whole bunch of geese out there walking across the road that live at that lake. That's glass. What is the significance? And now it's not wanting to focus again. I've blown the whole thing. It's don't, ladies and gentlemen, don't adjust your set. It's going to be out of focus for the rest of the time here until it realizes it's not looking out the window anymore. I shouldn't have done that. I'm delaying a little bit here now, and we're already at 7 minutes, but I'm going to be out of focus for the rest of this video, and I apologize for that. But anyway, where was I going with this? Glass. You can see through glass. So a glass ceiling is a barrier that prevents you from going from point A to point B that you can see through. It's not like I'm wondering who's up there in that office. Because it's glass, I can see through it. I can see what's on the other side. I just can't get there. We don't have women in upper management very often these days. We're trying to rectify that. And there are some very, very high profile women in leadership roles. But why don't we have women? Because for one thing, women tend to stay home when they have babies, and they stay home for at least 3 months, 6 months. But a lot of women say, you know what, I want to be home when Johnny gets home from school. I want to be home until he goes to school. So I'm going to miss a significant portion of my working life, and that's when I'm developing and growing to where I can be counted as applicable or appropriate for certain jobs. When it comes time to hire a VP, I got a man and a woman. She's been out of the workforce for 3 years with a child, and he's not. So he's going to have more skills necessary. When women take time off to take care of young children, again, I'm sorry I'm out of focus. I'm very out of focus as I look at it. It may be my glasses. That stunts their growth. It stunts their development opportunities and their promotion opportunities. And that's part of why it's not necessarily that we don't want women there. Sometimes it is a good old boy network, but it may very well be that we'd love to have women in our upper management. It just, they don't have some of the skills because they weren't here to get those skills. Another thing in the environmental issues is older workers. I'm starting to have to think about that. I'm 57 years old. My dad retired when he was late 50s, early 60s. I forget what it was. But I'm getting close to where he was. I can't do that. I've got a 4th grader going into the 5th grade, and I got to get to him through college. So I'm probably working at least until I'm 70 if I'm alive. And you're going to see anybody who wants a professor's role in human resources has got to wait till I leave. And that's unfortunately the way it is. But not only do we have older folks who are taking up roles longer, preventing advancement, but if something happens and I do leave this job, it's going to be very hard for me to find a job anywhere else because of my age. We got to consider that in our organizations as we're looking for people to hire and places to put them. Another big thing that is impacting the way we do things is work-family balance. More and more, especially from COVID, we're seeing people who work from home, who telecommute, who work at home 3 days and come to the office 2 days, or work at home all the time. But the problem with telecommuting, while it saves a lot of driving time and wear and tear and expense on your car and gasoline and stuff, it can be very easy to get distracted at home. At work, I'm in my office, it's all work-related stuff except for the little gossip around the water cooler. But at home, I've got a baby crying, or I've got kids running in and out of the house. I've got laundry that I'm trying to do, and it's hard to juggle all the things that I have to do. Plus, when I'm not at the office, it's much more likely that somebody's going to try to get in touch with me when it's after hours. So I'm expected, if I'm not in the office regularly, to have 24/7 availability, and that's challenging. So that makes it hard for us. In the past, we went to work, we spent time at work, we turned off the work button, we went home, we turned on the family button, and it didn't overlap a whole lot. Nowadays, there's so much blurring. We're at work and we get stuff about home that we have to deal with. We're at home and we get stuff about work we have to deal with. So the trend now is allowing people to work at home and saying, I don't care if you work 8 to 5. Here's a task I need you to do, and it may take 8 to 12. It may take 14 hours to get it done. It may take from 8 to 10, only 2 hours. I'm going to pay you for the output rather than the time it's spent doing the output. Flex time is another thing that we're doing to help folks with that work and family balance. Flex time says it's no longer 9 to 5. You may want to work 6 to 2, or you may want to work 12 to 8. As long as you're here during a certain period where we're really busy and really need you, I don't care if you come in early and leave early or come in late and leave late. So flex time lets you take your 8-hour workday and start it at any of several different options so that you work what's convenient to you, but we've got you here during that period when we really got to have you here. Another way that we deal with work-family balance is job sharing, and that may be you really can only work mornings and that person can really only work afternoons. So y'all will be a pair, y'all will be a partner or a team, and you'll come in and work when you're available and they'll come in and work when they're available, and y'all will hand off, kind of like nurses do in the hospital. I'll take this shift. When my shift is over and you're coming in, I'm going to tell you what's going on, so to the patient it seems very seamless. That's one thing that we can do. The last thing it talks about in this section as we close out chapter 2 is how we adjust when corporate level changes happen. If we have to merge with another company, if we acquire another company, if we have to downsize because of the economy, a lot of that happened because of COVID. We have to understand that it impacts our workers. And it doesn't matter as much if you have long-term job security. We got to let people go. We got to let people go. So the summary of this little section is that there's a lot of things to think about that HR really has to be involved in terms of making sure that people get included, to making sure that we are fair as much as possible across the board. Again, I'm sorry. It seemed like a great idea to show you my ceiling and to show you out the window, but apparently putting that thing out the window really messed up the focus when I brought it back in here. So hopefully when I turn this off and close the program and restart it for the next video, it'll be back in focus. That's it for chapter 2. I hope that you learned a lot from that. We're going to move on to chapter 3 in the next one.